and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel right here today, guys, where of course we have to keep celebrating that absolutely incredible victory over Valencia. The football on show from Barca was absolutely outstanding, and of course we're going to be talking about the star of the show. Now, there were many of them last night, but Ferran Torres and that hat-trick have to be discussed in more detail, and not only about Ferran, but also what this could all mean for Robert Lewandowski. That is a big debate that we need to have right now, and there's plenty more as well coming up for all of you today. The likes of Pablo Torre discussed, Hector Fort as well, Inigo Martinez, and the situation surrounding Ansu Fati. It is all on the way for you. Get yourselves ready. I hope you're going to enjoy. Let's do this. But let's start right here today, guys. First of all, with a super thanks shout out. And this one here goes to Jawad. Big thank you indeed for the support. And he says, can we acknowledge the drop-off in quality and control after Pedri was subbed off? What a player. We need him injury-free. And of course, touch wood right now. But in terms of injuries this season, I think Barca have managed Pedri very, very well. Hansi Flick in particular. He's worked really well with him, hasn't he? I think he's really unlocked Pedri this season. I mean, I know before we've seen lots of quality from Pedri, especially before his injury problems. You know, his ceiling has always been incredibly high. But I think this season, he has really just taken it up a notch. You know, he's really gone to another level. And I do love that element of control. Of course, we see it in the passing range, you know, incredible passes there that really open up moves. But it's the way that he also controls the tempo here. He is the metronome in midfield. He keeps everything moving. He keeps everything very, very organised in that area. And for sure, whenever he's not there, you miss him. You notice him when he's not there. That is a sign of a true quality player in your team. And Pedri this season really has ticked every single box. But I also do have to say right here today, guys, can we also acknowledge another player who is actually returning here from injury in Inigo Martinez, of course, because he came on there at half-time, made his return. Now, bear in mind, he's been out injured for nearly a month there. Missed lots of games. Of course, last time that he played was back in the Super Cup against Real Madrid. And can we just acknowledge the way that he comes back, makes his return, and immediately he just slots back into that defence, you know, as if he'd never even left there. He seamlessly slotted back into that offside trap, and he understands it incredibly well there. As soon as he came on, he's catching players offside, you know, he's understanding the runs, he's understanding where he needs to be, and I think this season, he has just shown such quality, and I know that he's certainly getting on in years, but of course as a centre-back, as long as you've got your mind there, and certainly in this system as well, as long as you're organised, as long as you understand your role, you could be a big part of this team, no matter how old you are. Inigo Martinez doing incredibly well. He is going to get that 1-year contract extension. Hansi Flick was absolutely adamant about that, and you can see why. Great to see him back in the team right now. But I also want to focus as well on that defensive line. Can we talk a little bit about Hector Fort? Because, of course, he came on for the final 12 minutes here against Valencia. And I've got to say, guys, I know a few other people noticed this as well. I thought he was very, very good. And I think we should acknowledge here, he did put in a very, very good performance. Encouraging to see him coming on. Obviously, he didn't have too long on the field, but I did like what I saw from him there. Really good energy, of course, bursting forward. I think the main thing about Hector Fort is, you know, we need him. You know, we need somebody in this squad who can allow Jules Koundé to get some rest. We know that this season, Koundé, he has been overplayed. You know, you see that. We know how good he is. We know how consistent he's been in this team. But if you overplay him, if you overburden him there, he's not going to be able to reach those peak levels that we know that he can. So I think it's very, very important here, ultimately, that we see more of Hector Fort. You know, I'm actually surprised this season we haven't seen as much of him as I'd like. You know, I would like to see more of him. You can see here in his recent games, you know, he came on against Valencia. He also played in the La Liga game against Valencia, 20 minutes in that game. But apart from that, you know, he's an unused sub. And that's not really enough. You know, we need to be seeing him more often. He needs to have a little bit of confidence in there as well. He's still incredibly young, you know, only 18 years old still. There's still lots of potential in his game. And he does have quality. He does have ability to go forward, to be part of our team here in our squad. And hopefully we do now, as the season progresses, see more and more minutes and more importance here in the team for Hector Fort. Which is when it does indeed get quite interesting then. Because of course you go from somebody who's not really getting all that much time to somebody who's getting pretty much no time in the team right now. And I think if there was maybe one thing from yesterday's game, one negative to really try and find, it would probably be this whole Pablo Torre situation. Because let's just remember here that on deadline day in the January transfer window there, very, very end of it, Porto sold Nico Gonzalez and they desperately wanted to sign a midfielder. Now, they wanted to sign Pablo Torre. They went to Barca, they wanted to open talks there about the potential deal. Now, Barca shut the door on that. Barca immediately said, look, we don't want to let him go. We want to keep him here for the rest of the squad. Pablo Torre is happy enough to stay. We are not going to allow him to leave. And I'm just wondering right now, I understand that Hansi Flick wanted to keep the squad together. I also understand that Pablo Torre, he wants to fight for his place. He wants to try and prove himself here at the club. But yet, we're not really seeing him though, are we? We're not really seeing him at all in this team right now. Even yesterday, a game where we were 5-0 ahead, he doesn't even get on for a single minute. He got a few minutes there in the La Liga game against Valencia. He got a few minutes against Betis. But again, he's an unused sub most of the time. And of course, you've got great players in his position. Fermin has come into the team and played very, very well. Dani Olmo now coming back from injury. Of course, even when Olmo now has been out, Torre still has not really been able to get those minutes. So right now, he is struggling, and it's a kind of a surprise again, because every time we do see him, and earlier on in the season, he was having an impact. He was playing more of games, he was coming on there for maybe half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, and he was actually scoring, assisting, contributing. But as of right now, in 2025, certainly here towards the end of January and now into February, we're just not really seeing him enough. And I'm just interested to know, is that going to change? And in your opinion, guys, should it change? Because of course, guys, on that very note as well, speaking about players here whose situations at the club, even beyond the transfer window, they're a little bit murky right now. You're not really sure what's going on. And one of those, I think we know what's going on with Ansu Fati, quite frankly, because Hansi Flick could not have made it any more clear. And again, this is one that I really struggle to understand, but this is more from the player's point of view. Of course, right the way through January, the club was saying to Ansu, look, you need to go, you need to leave the club. If you want to play football this season, we're not really counting on you. Flick has been incredibly direct. He's been incredibly honest towards Ansu to say, okay, you're not in my plans. And that was made so clear. Because even now, he hasn't gone, of course. He's stayed at the club. And I just wonder if Ansu thought, well, that's just a threat from the club. During the transfer window, throughout January there, they're trying to put pressure on me to go. Maybe Ansu thought that when the window's done, when it's closed, after that, I'll be back in the squad. I will be available again and I will start to play again in this team. Barca are just trying to push me out. But I honestly don't think that's the case here. I think Barca were ultimately just telling the truth. I don't think Ansu is in Hansi Flick's plans. And I don't really think he's seeing enough in the training sessions to justify him being included. And Ansu right now, he's got a real fight on his hands. He has, because you look at it yesterday, it's a cup game. It's a cup game away from home against a team who are struggling in Valencia. Barca win the game 5-0 comfortably. He's not even on the bench. He's not even close to playing in a game like that there. So Ansu right now, it's concerning for him, for his own future, for his own career, and what is going to happen next, and how much football do you think he's going to play across the remainder of this season? Because another thing, of course, that you have to consider there when you're thinking about Ansu, what really hasn't helped him as well now, is the real explosion of Ferran Torres there. Somebody who can play wide, somebody who can play down the middle, all the kind of roles that Ansu would be hoping to occupy. But look at the kind of impact that Ferran is making. And I have to say here, you've got to give Ferran credit. He's gotten criticism from most of us. We've all grown frustrated with him at some point since he signed for the club for very, very big money. But right now, he's getting his head down, he's worked hard, he's had to really wait for an opportunity. It's not as though he's had loads of starts this season, it's not as though Flick has just kept giving him chance after chance after chance. He's been coming on, he's been having cameos, and he has made a massive impact. And even yesterday, when he got a rare start in the team, in that centre-forward role, boy, did he make a statement. Boy, did he make you notice him. And I think it's really interesting as well, given that in January, AC Milan made a real approach to Barca. They went to Barca, they wanted to sign Ferran Torres in January, but just like with Pablo Torre, Barca said no. Barca said absolutely no chance, Ferran. We need him in our squad. He's an important player for Hansi Flick. He has a real role to play this season. We are not letting him go. And I'm sure even that there gave Ferran confidence. And that confidence for him, it's never really seemed to waver. He's always actually said, whenever you listen to him, I can succeed here. I know, I believe that I can perform at Barca and that I can show my true potential. And I guess my question right here would be, are we going to see it? You know, are we actually going to see the potential that we kind of hoped Ferran had when we signed him in the first place from Manchester City? And of course, he's still, you know, relatively young. It's not as though he's over the hill. It's not as though he's at the end of his career. There's still plenty of time here for Ferran. But I think this is what we want to see. This is the kind of player, the kind of attitude, the kind of hunger in front of goal that we wanted to see from him. You know, we saw it with Spain quite a lot, whereby he'd get chances and he'd bury them. You know, no questions asked. You know, he'd get a chance in front of goal, he'd make clever, well-timed runs, he scored goals. That is the Ferran that we desperately wanted to see at Barca. And I think it's very interesting, not just about him, but what his inclusion as the centre-forward does for the whole team there. Because you look at Rafinha, for example, yesterday, he looked like he was enjoying the role that he had a lot more. You know, he was able to make more central runs, he had more of a free role, he had more of a combination there with, say, Ferran Torres than he would have done with Lewandowski, in my opinion there. I think Ferran also opened up a bit more space for Lamine Yamal, which would have been much, much appreciated too. So it's not only about the impact that Ferran has on his own, but that kind of player, what that does for the rest of the forward line there, what it can open up with them. And that is why right now we're looking at Robert Lewandowski and the questions are being asked from Barca fans. You know, we're thinking, what is the best route forward? And my personal opinion right now, guys, is different games require different solutions. Because I don't think we can just sit here now and say, oh, well, Ferran has scored a hat-trick. Clearly, we don't need Lewandowski. You know, just leave him on the bench. We don't need him anymore. It's not as simple as that. It's not going to be. Over the course of a long season, lots of different types of games that you'll play. Some against deep blocks, some against open space. Certainly, Ferran thrives in that open space. You know, he's somebody who could be really mobile and direct in behind. Now, Lewandowski has his uses, though. You know, he's scored a lot of goals this season. We cannot forget that there, and we cannot underrate how important it is to score goals. But I do think the important thing right now with this form from Ferran, and the fact that he's scoring hat-tricks now, that is significant. And for me, it's Robert Lewandowski's job to show that he's still the man. I think now, for the first time since he arrived at Barca, he has genuine competition, and I believe that's what Ferran is here. He's no longer just a squad player on the fringes. He is putting in good performances individually, and he is also helping the team. And that is why there is pressure on Lewandowski, like I think there should be for any player. I am glad here that we have finally some real competition, some genuine competition for places in that centre-forward role. That's what we've been crying out for. That is what we've wanted. And guys, in your opinion right now, and this is probably the big question, the big takeaway from today, looking ahead to this weekend, we are away at Sevilla. That's not an easy game. They're going to the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. If you're Hansi Flick, who are you starting with? Who is going to be your number 9 in that game? Is it going to be Ferran, who's just scored a hat-trick in midweek? He's on fire right now. Or the man who is an unused sub, who is completely fresh and eager to get back in the team on Sunday, Robert Lewandowski, guys. Let me know in the comments down below here. This is the big one. Who starts on Sunday? Ferran or Lewandowski? Let me know your thoughts and why. I will see you tomorrow for all of the build-up ahead of that game. Really, really looking forward to it. Thank you indeed for all of you tuning in and for your great support. I will see you soon, guys. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barca.